and welcome to this second episode in a series of brief videos in which we explore the essence of regulation. In this episode we will ask ourselves the question, what is so special about regulation in the 21st century? In other words, what is it that regulators of any creed, as well as their beneficiaries and targets, must deal with now that they have not had to deal with before? Some obvious answers to that question are that regulators must deal with new and incredibly fast forms of media and information sharing that very quickly colors people's perception about a regulatory intervention or a regulatory agency. They also must deal with exceptional technological changes. For example, new possibilities to collect, store and use large volumes of data to quickly guide regulatory interventions. Likewise, regulators are probably more than ever subject to swings in political debates, with politicians feeling the need to deliver ever more popular results within ever shorter timeframes. Yet, what makes regulation in the 21st century truly different from regulation in the 19th and 20th centuries is the regulatory real estate that those centuries have left behind. Just like normal real estate, the regulatory real estate from the past made a lot of sense when it was developed and implemented. But just like normal real estate, the regulatory real estate from the past may now stand in the way of achieving cost-effective, transparent, ethical, equitable and accountable regulatory outcomes in the 21st century. So what I'm pointing at here is that many of today's regulatory systems are the result of an ongoing layering of amendments, improvements and adjustments of smaller and larger regulatory interventions. As a result, many regulatory systems are a complex patchwork of tools, strategies and objectives that is often difficult to understand on paper, but even more difficult to implement in practice. And that was, for example, one of the central insights from a review on regulatory institutions and practices here in New Zealand. The inquiry was carried out by the New Zealand Productivity Commission, which is an independent Crown entity that provides advice to the New Zealand government. The Commission found that, and I quote the report here, New Zealand has a large and complex regulatory system, with as many as 200 different regimes, a large number of regulatory agencies and more than 10,000 people employed in administering regulation. It is a major piece of governmental infrastructure, and it is as significant as is the tax and spending systems in terms of its impact on the lives of New Zealanders. Done well, the report continues, regulation improves the well-being of New Zealanders, allowing New Zealand to better react and better reach its social, environmental and economic goals. The report continues. The big challenge is to design regulation and regulators for the future that are clear in their purpose, are designed to maximize the chances of achieving what was intended and are adaptable to risks and changing circumstances. The Commission found that New Zealand regulators often have to work with outdated and out-of-date legislation, that their quality checks are under strain, and that regulatory workers need better training and development. The Commission recommends that the policy and parliamentary processes for testing proposals for new regulation needs to be tightened. It also argues that New Zealand needs a more professionalized regulatory workforce with better training and career pathways. Last but not least, ministers need to provide clearer strategies and stronger leadership for the regulatory system as a whole. So all in all, the Commission acknowledges the role that past regulation will play in the future. And it acknowledges that better regulatory performance is a responsibility of regulators and politicians alike. Now, the New Zealand Productivity Commission does not stand alone in these kinds of findings. The European Commission has, for similar reasons, launched its better regulation agenda at the start of the 21st century. And around the world, academics have begun to work with regulators, their targets and their beneficiaries to retrofit and improve our existing regulatory real estate, to find ways that allow us to remove the regulatory real estate that we don't need any longer, to build back better, stronger and more resilient regulatory real estate that is fit to address the major societal challenges of the 21st century. With that, I have come to the end of this second episode. Ngā mihi, and I hope to see you again soon.